Hey, welcome back to the show. It's Katryn Rose, and I am coming to you today live from Higgins Beach, Maine, where I'll be working and staying and living for a few months. And then I move further north to another coastal city. Um, and that's been part of my vision for many years. I would love to live near or at the beach, the ocean beach specifically. So, today we're going to talk a little bit about visioning for your life. What does that look like? How do you do it? What does that mean? And a few other little anecdotes, maybe stories along the way. Now, some of you are probably very familiar with visioning, creating, manifesting. Some of you may be new to all of this. But what I want to discuss today is a process that I use to help get clearer on visions for ourselves. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a coach, a healer, energy worker. Transformation catalyst is one of the monikers I gave myself many years ago because I help people transform the situations that they're in or the life that they're in if they don't love it and they want something different. And really helping you tune into knowing that one, it's possible to create different circumstance if you would love to. And honoring the past and releasing it gently and moving forward in a really powerful way. So we weave in all those threads. We do it with psychology, spirituality, coaching techniques, personal growth, all the things kind of merged into my own integrative process. And we're going to talk about that today with the fire and ice. So I have done a lot of transformation and inner work for myself and revisioning my whole life. And that's one of the reasons I'm here in coastal Maine for a couple of months, revisioning, tweaking, exploring, experimenting, and seeing what is it that I would really love. Because sometimes we think or believe, I would love my life to be a certain way. And in many cases, that's absolutely on point. And in other cases, we find out over time that those things that we thought we would love or wanted or felt we needed for ourselves were not actually coming from us. It was our patterning, our programming, other people's desires or opinions on what life should look like, how we should feel, and all the things. And if you're like me on this personal growth journey, you're learning that some of the things that you may have wanted really didn't stem from the essence of who you really are. And then the other piece of that is that as we travel on this life experiment experiences and we have done things that we would love or visioned and they came to fruition, then it's time to level up or shift gears again and do something new if we choose to, if we would love to. And that is a question that I've learned over time is so valuable. And in a job situation that I had last year, that was one of the foundational questions. What would you love? And it really resonated with me because that's the second step of the fire and ice. So if you're here, we're just going to dive into that and use it as a platform. It's January, it's the beginning of the year, and many people start visioning or creating or wanting to shift gears, or they've set, how do you call it, New Year's resolutions, and by now have given up because resolutions for most people don't stick. And that's my intention, visioning, tapping into your desires and having just, bigger goals is important, but tapping into the first question of fire and ice F, feel. How do you want to feel? How do you want to feel when you go to work? How do you want to feel when you get up in the morning or you lay your head on your pillow at night? How do you want to feel in your relationships or in your life? So instead of setting hard goals, I want X, Y, Z, I want to do this, I want to be that, I want to have such and such by a certain time, is turning inward, slowing down and asking yourself, how do I want to feel? So I got this question circa, 2015, when I was a desire map facilitator. Danielle Laporte had a really beautiful program back then with the book Desire Map that she wrote. And it really was a catalyst for me to dive into that question deeper. Why do I want to feel? Create goals with soul, and I want to feel differently in my life than I do now. And that doesn't always necessarily, throwing in the towel on everything in your life and uprooting and moving, like I had done more recently. Um, it's just about honoring where you're at and really diving into the feeling of what you would love. I'm going to turn my ringer off. This is real life. I forgot to apologize. But ask yourself, if you're not satisfied or happy with how you are feeling in your life in this moment, reconnect, connect to your heart, connect to your essence, your inner being, and just ask, how do I want to feel? And I invite you to journal on that or contemplate it and get some insights. When we're journaling or writing about it, things come up that sometimes we weren't consciously connecting to as we thought about the question, and we get other insights. So it can be a useful tool to journal it out as well, not just think about it or contemplate it, and see what shows up for you. And just sit with that and use the gift of noticing how you feel, noticing how you want to feel. And is there a big disconnect? And just use that information to help curate your vision. Okay, so the second step in fire and ice, the I is inspiration. The question becomes, what do I love? What would I love? So we want to feel inspired. What lights you up? Not what are the circumstances and conditions in your life right now that may be triggering you or holding you back or making you feel like you're in a box of what you can and cannot do, but tap into the energy of what would I love? You ask yourself that and let inspiration from source or your higher self or your spirit guides fill you with what it is that you would love. And again, you can contemplate it, do the journaling, and get clear insights on what you would love without anyone else's opinion, without the programming, without the patterning of, you know, how you were raised, whatever it is. Just tap in. If anything were possible, I like to work with people. If anything were possible, and you let go of all the things, what would you love? What would you love your life to look like? What would you love to be doing for a career? What would you love to travel or connect with your people? Whatever it is, there's no right or wrong. It's like, what is it that this is all about you. This is your time. What would you love? And again, use that as information. Okay, so the third question in the fire part of the fire and ice for visioning is R. And this one is really pivotal for me. It stands for release. So when other interferences or information are coming through that tell you what you should love or how you should feel, start to notice them and then ask yourself, what do I need to release or what do I need to let go of to have the life, create the life that I would love? And when you ask, notice what comes up, that first bit of information, because those are the things that you personally would most likely need to let go of or to release. It's different for all of us. Okay. So you want to turn inward and listen to the information from your being on what do I need to let go of? Okay. And so for me, I really needed to let go of people pleasing behaviors. I needed to let go of the opinions of others. I needed to let go of past versions of myself that had a different vision because they had become outdated based on how I had grown and shifted and changed. So just ask. You can also ask when things come up, whose energy is it? And notice what the information gives you. And if it's not your energy, oftentimes that's an indicator of that would be really useful for you to learn how to let go of. So these are all clarifying questions, especially if you want to create a life you love, but you don't really know what that looks like yet. So you can use these filtering questions, reflections, contemplations to create more clarity for yourself. Okay, so number 4, the fire and ice part, the E, embody. One of my favorite questions is like when you start to filter down, You know, how do I want to feel? What would I love? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to release? Now ask yourself, who do I need to become to have the life that I would love? What qualities or characteristics do I need to embody or that would benefit me to embody to create that life? Maybe you're embodying someone with a different skill set. It's not just about doing energy work. That's foundational. That helps clear the path. But turning in and asking these questions and really becoming person or the woman in the vision. So as you curate and craft your vision, it's like, what do I need to embody to become that woman? To become, for me, the woman that travels indefinitely and being able to do it and believing that I can do it regardless of the circumstances or situations in my life. And I know that it looks maybe a little different than I had wanted, but instead of waiting another 20 years to just go live by the beach, I was like, I am the woman who lives by the beach. I am the woman that gets to travel. I don't really know how it's all going to work. I'm leaving that up to source and spirit and being spirit led and guided and stepping into opportunities as they show up. But I got really fine tuned and clear on, who am I? What do I need to embody? What would I love? And let the things ripple out and show you. So in the fire part, this is a lot of the work of refining, getting information, letting go, getting clarity, or getting clear on what we need to let go of or what we would benefit from letting go of, and moving into that. So that's the first half, the fire. We can go deeper. I go a lot deeper when I work with clients, but this is an overview for you. The ice is where we take the action. When we are visioning a life for ourselves to create it to happen in 3D, we also need, or keep using the word need, let's up level that word, but we also get to do things differently, right? And so we would really benefit by taking action to have these things manifest. They don't always just drop into our lap. Door to them may drop into our lap, and it's up to us to take the step forward into it. Make sense? So ICE stands for intention, choice, and execution. The ICE, the I is the intention. When we do that clarifying work with the fire is really transformative in nature. We can create intentions for ourselves. So as I did a lot of that work, for example, my intention became, I'm just going to go travel now. I'm just going to go live by the beach now. I don't know what it looks like. That was my intention. I'm going to have certain types of experiences and I'm going to step out in faith. So when I did that and created the intention, C, choice, now I need to make some choice points, some decisions to take action. And I had to decide, right? Am I going to keep my apartment or am I going to let it go? It was my safety net, my little, like, I use the analogy of a dog crate. I have dogs. They live with my ex now and they have crates. We rarely put them in the crates except to leave it really at length, or not even anymore. They're pretty well behaved, but one of the dogs, the smaller one, loves the crate. The doors are open on it and he can go in whenever he would love to. And every so often you'll find him just sitting there, hunkering down, curling up, if there's no one to sit with on the couch and feeling safe. So I created my apartment, which was much smaller than the house we had lived in, to my own little dog crate where I could go and curl up, get clarity, feel safe until I was ready to embark on this next level of my vision, until the opportunity presented itself. Whatever works for you, just feel safe, create a safety, a sanctuary for yourself, where you have that inner strength to then make the choices and take the action, right? So my choice was to let go of that safety net, that apartment. And I put all of my stuff in storage. My ex and my three sons helped me. We packed it up and I left. And I had some things lined up. Like I chose to do some house sitting to offset the expense. And I was going to stay in hotels and Airbnbs. and really mix it up and experience different warmer climates, different beaches, but also go inward to the mountains a little. Because I also love the mountains. And as much as I want to live by the beach, I'm like, would I love something else? I don't know. So I got to go experience the contrast. And the truth is, my preference, what I would love is to be near the beach and have the opportunity to visit the mountain. But until I took the time to really explore that and delve in and felt like, or experienced what it felt like in my body, I wasn't sure. So I made the choices. I made some hard choices, some scary choices, and I just went on faith and did it. And that's what the E is. E is for execution or engagement. It's really that process of taking action. Because when we take action, more doors open, more clarity comes. Sometimes not everything works out as perfectly as we would want. We get to rinse and refine, right? We get feedback from every action or sometimes even the inaction in our lives. And with that feedback, we rinse and refine and we can go through the list again. How do I want to feel? Am I feeling what I thought I might feel? Or does this feel good to me? Not everything that feels bad or doesn't feel good is necessarily the wrong choice. Again, it's feedback. But when it sticks and it stays and it's not passing, because, discomfort is a natural part of growth, right? But being stuck in pain is not. It's not where we want to be. So really discerning what it is, how you would want to feel, and then you get to rinse and refine. And that's what I did on my journey these last 4 months. And I'm really even clearer, especially now that I'm in Maine. It's very cold. And I wanted to come to coastal Maine. It's a great place to winter, right? If we live a little bit by the seasons, winter is a super important natural time to turn inward. So I'm like, I'm going to turn inward during the cold. I'll stay inside more. I mean, I will go out, don't get me wrong, but it just felt right. And opportunities and doors open that presented themselves. And one of them that I'm at is a third of a mile walk to the beach. And the next one next month is right on the beach where the windows overlook the ocean. So my clarity that I got of I would love to live by the beach. And that was a driving question or answer for me in a networking group for 3 years almost. At the end of an introduction of ourselves, it was like, what would you love? What is your burning desire? Napoleon Hill talks about your burning desire. And mine was always, I would love to live by the beach. And years ago, that meant owning property by the beach. But sometimes, as life would have it, life throws us curveballs or we don't make the most optimal choices. I was not in a position to buy property at the beach, particularly after my husband's motorcycle wreck. Life kind of upended us, pulled the rug out from under us. And that happens to a lot of people in life, different reasons, different seasons. And we get to make the choice. Am I going to let this stop me? Or am I still going to move forward and find a way? And am I going to allow myself to look and explore what all the other possibilities may be instead of the narrow one I was fixated on, like buying the property? Or is there another way? And I stopped. And in the visioning process of my life, I became open to there is other ways. I didn't know what they were at the time. And that's the part about being loose with our vision, creating that vision of what would I love? What would I love? How do I want to feel? But letting go of the how and really tapping into the feelings when you vision your life. How do I want to feel? What would I love? What do I need to let go of to have that? Who do I need to become to do it? What is my intention? What choices am I going to make? What action steps will I take to create this? And with those action steps, where does that lead me next? How do I rinse and refine or continue to tweak as I go on my journey? And be open, if you're willing, to the possibility that spirit or your higher self has a bigger plan for you than maybe you can even imagine in this moment. And wherever you're at, it's all good. Because here's the fun part about being in Earth School. You get to revision and recreate your life at any time you would love to, or enhance it more. And a lot of that stems from our belief systems and our choices. And that when life may throw us these curveballs that we may have soul contracts with or predetermined before we came and embodied of what we wanted to experience, we still get to shift and change. We don't have to allow the past to define us. It may have shaped us, it doesn't define us. And each moment we get to choose again. We get to vision. We get to recreate the vision. And that's part of the art of visioning, is that we have choice. And when we start to believe that, it gets easier and easier to create the life that you would love, you know? And it really stems from those feelings instead of the logical, linear goal, blah, 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 blah. Not that you want to throw those out necessarily, but are you willing if that's not working for you? Because it worked great for some people and it just didn't work for me. Are you willing to turn inside and recreate and revision and reinvent and have more fun? Because what are we here for if it is not to enjoy ourselves more? And we get to choose. And this is something I learned along the way a long time ago. We get to choose to be in the lower vibrating energies of pain, fear, doubt, victimhood, blah, depression. We don't have to stay stuck in any of that. We get to choose that we would love to feel amazing, that life can look a certain way, or more so, feel a certain way, regardless of the situations that we find ourselves in or the circumstances around us. So, visioning becomes an inner process of clarity, of trusting, of believing, of loving yourself enough to know that whatever things look like in the past, you get to have a different future. And sometimes for me, one of the steps was forgiving myself. Couldn't really love myself the way some people talk about self-love until I could forgive certain situations in my life. And we're not going to get into that right now. But the reason I bring it up in the visioning process, in the seer group that I run with Kristin Lemaster and Sandra Orndorff, we meet every other Wednesday. We are doing a self-love, self-compassion, self-forgiveness session the first week of February. So if you're a member by then, you get to do that. And then we're going to do a free 10-day challenge on those things, self-love, self-forgiveness, and really hone into our belief system and what are some of our beliefs. Because to vision our lives a certain way and to believe that we can have it, we might need to shift our beliefs. So that's why we work with the fire and ice process, and that helps us get there. But there's really that fine tuning of believing that we can have what we would love. And I'm here to tell you that you can. And it may not look exactly like you're planning, believing that it's possible and believing that maybe it's even better than you can imagine in this moment. It's there for you. Create a field around you where you can just reach out and pull it in more because it's out there. It's waiting for you to believe that you can, to get really clear on what you would love, how you would love to feel in your life. Feeling again is paramount. So, my friends, if you're not feeling the way you want to feel, you get to change it. My invitation to you is come back with me every week here, get some tips. You can find some of my writing on Substack, katrynrose.substack.com. The link is in the comments. Join us with the group in Seer. If you would love a spiritual community of other seekers and experimenters who are not necessarily doing energy work as a career, but want to weave in those aspects, dive deeper into spirituality, come join our community, the Seer community, Spiritual Exploration Roundtable, because everyone will get a chance to speak some of what they would love or their viewpoint as well. So I'd love for you to join us. I'm going to put that link in the notes as well. But remember, fire and ice can be a really catalytic process to help you create the vision that you would love. And that's really a huge part of the art of visioning. is that feeling and that loving. So thank you for watching. I hope that was useful, and I will see you next time.